Hello everybody and welcome to the final part of Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey Synchronicity Prologue. I actually did it. Oh my god. Yeah, that was my last chance. Okay, there we go. I'm happy with myself. Anyway, so this is the second to last area in the game. This is the last part though. We had an awkward, no good place to cut sequence going on here. So you could actually wander into this area much earlier in the game. This is where Black Frost ran to at the very start, but we just had no way to pass this gas, so we had to... Not like that, you 5-year-olds. Anyway.
Of course.
Yeah, so... those are...
They're weak to gun. I imagine everything is weak to gun.
Not everything. There are a lot of things in Shin Megami Tensei that are surprisingly resistant to gun.
Flying enemies in Persona 5 are the thing you usually can safely bet.
Pretty sure the bulletproof vest demons.
Now, you know what this armor reminds me of, though? There's a suit of armor that you can get in one of the hardest dungeons of the game, I think. In Fallout 3, that's an old suit of power armor from the war that wiped out the world, you know? It's this really gung-ho suit of power armor with an onboard operating system that talks to you like a drill sergeant and intentionally shouts out a battle cry if you try to sneak around an enemy.
Oh my god, well, that's amazing, because
I'm seeing why we lost that war.
Because the Jack Frost in the suit in Strange Journey and Shin Megami Tensei 4 talks to you like a drill sergeant and is like, "Listen up, Maggot, you're a waste of space," and goes Full Metal Jacket on you. So that's surprisingly fitting. Now that I think about it. I'm also not that surprised that even in Fallout, ancient technology is more effective than modern technology. So,
well,
you know.
Yeah, in Fallout, all of the technology is ancient technology. Even the money is bottle caps from soda bottles, you know.
Yeah. So one thing that I never got about Fallout is that you can buy soda bottles from vending machines. So why has nobody?
Well, you don't buy them from vending machines. You just break into old vending machines and get the soda out. And yes, you can keep the caps.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, like, why is there any left at this point?
Well, because just exploring all the old places where those vending machines would be found is dangerous. Because there are bandits camped out there, there are monsters nesting, you know, like giant mutated ants and shit. Fallout is a weird universe. But yeah, people do go scavenging in those places. It's just that, you know, there's still places that haven't been wiped clean.
Alright. Anyway, I love that you can do seesaw platforming with the monkey demons there. When I was first playing this game, actually, I got stuck because I just shot everything on sight and didn't think to try
I remember that stream.
Yeah. So, like, I killed a monkey by accident, but I need that to get up. So I have to, like, count my shots.
Don't shoot too many times.
Yeah. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So this area also has pretty bitchin' music as well. It surprises me to this day how well made of a game this is, considering that it's free. You know, like, this is the kind of thing that I think that they would release
Sandman.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I love that demon.
Because actually, something similar that happened at one point was way back in like 2009, 2010, maybe 2011, the late 2000s, early 2010s. There was the Capcom game Dark Void, I think is what it's called. And basically, it was just a game where you are a guy with a jetpack, pretty much, and you flew around and stuff. And it was kind of mixed reviews, forgotten kind of game that nobody really talks about anymore. But when it was released, they also had this downloadable portable game that was kind of touted that's called Dark Void Zero that they made, and it was like supposed to be a companion game modeled after an old NES Capcom game. And it's like, okay, if this were a retro Capcom franchise that we were revitalizing, like what they did with Bionic Commando, then this is what that original game would have looked like. And that game's surprisingly decent, actually. So, you know, this sort of stuff has happened before, and, you know, even in a more recent example, you know, Sonic Mania, where that game was supposed to be the tie-in to Forces.
And wound up being the main event.
Yeah, it wasn't intended to be the main event, even if that's what kind of happened, you know? So this sort of stuff happens relatively frequently. So I'm surprised that they didn't charge for this, because it's a well-made product. This probably took people a good amount of time to make and animate all the sprites and make all the areas and stuff. Because there's so much detail in this.
It's funny you mentioned that.
What the hell?
The game's sprite quality and shading reminds me an awful lot of Cave Story.
I'm sorry. Is this Egyptian or is this Japanese?
Both.
Yeah, probably. I think the intent is Japanese because the Matama ball is chasing us Indiana Jones style. Also, if you get hit, you're basically screwed. So yeah.
Just keep running. Just keep running.
Yeah, I died.
Well, you had the auto life thing.
Yeah,
so.
but unfortunately, it doesn't matter because you need to follow the ball there to break that block. So, jump cut to Future Ted actually succeeding on that. Thanks, past me for editing. But anyway, yeah, Cave. It's Cave Story if it were trying to go for Symphony of the Night instead of Super Metroid graphically, I think. Well, not even Super Metroid.
Well, even then, the Cave Story Plus has revamped graphics, which I think are more in tow with what you're seeing here.
So I'm not familiar. Isn't Cave Story Plus 3D models?
No, that's the 3DS version of the game.
It's just, you know, smoothed up graphics.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna
Everything has a higher pixel count.
I'm gonna do a quick Cave Story Plus because I haven't played. The only version of Cave Story I've played is the Wii version, which graphically is almost identical. Yeah, you know, now that I'm looking at it, they are higher quality. The art style is still mostly the same, with the weird kind of blocky heads and stuff like that, which makes it kind of look more like an NES game, even if it's not trying to be an NES game. Yeah, I love this guy. His boss fight is pathetically easy. He's one of the easiest bosses in the game, but his design is great, and the way his nose wiggles makes me happy. So, you know, there's that.
I just see a flame mammoth.
Yeah, but like the sprite quality here is I'd say on par or better than what you would see for a lot of PlayStation 2D games, you know. Like I'd certainly say that I would personally say that this is better than like the Mega Man X games on PlayStation. Although that might just be personal bias because I like this art style more. But
well, there's the animations are just more fluid in general.
Yeah. I would hesitate to say that it's...
I would say this is about on par with Rayman.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. The art style... I hesitate to say it's better than Symphony of the Night, but it's still very, very well done.
Well, so Symphony of the Night cheats in a lot of ways, where it's not so much like dedicated animations for sprites. It's more like the sprites are segmented, and they do a lot of like puppetry with like the bigger creatures.
I mean, that's technically been a thing since even the NES.
Yeah, because that Mega Man does that.
Well, I'm talking like for Symphony of the Night.
That was basically Vector Man's entire shtick.
You know.
Yeah. But no.
If it wasn't pulled directly from Rondo of Blood, all of the new enemies used a lot of puppetry for animation and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just saying that using multiple sprites on one character, quote unquote, has been a thing since the NES because that's how Mega Man works. His head and his body are two separate sprites, technically.
Yeah, because they needed more color. They needed more colors than what the NES could do for one specific sprite. Because I think like something like Bowser technically doesn't have black on his body. He just has in the original Super Mario Brothers. He doesn't have black on his body. He just has transparent instead. And the transparent parts just show the black in the background, so it looks like he's got black on his.
Well, you know. You said this boss was easy. It looks pretty threatening to me.
There's a trick when he's doing that attack there, the one where he does
stand in one spot.
Yeah, the where he does the cool pose and he cuts away the background. All you have to do is don't attack him, and then you don't take damage. there, pretty much. I did die the first time I played that boss, but once you know the trick, it's pretty easy. Also, the thing that I was trying to do was I was trying to stay close to him to beat him quicker. Most of his attacks are really short-ranged, so if you spam skills from a distance or use Pyro Jack instead, you can just not take damage because you're too far away from him to get hit by his attacks or whatnot. You can also switch to the suit in order to not take damage from his Dark Breath, so, that's also an option. Oh man, we're going to be able to catch up with Jack San. Oh man, sorry.
We're going to catch up with him. Let's stop and discuss how.
We run forward, Jack Frost. Oh, okay.
I didn't think of that. Oh.
I'm sorry, I don't understand your accent. We go forward, ho.
You're welcome.
So anyway, there is an actual plot going on here. We're not technically Jack Frost. We're a human connected to the computer program, and our consciousness is synced up. The computer program syncs up our consciousness with a demon, and that demon is the Jack Frost. This guy here was another computer programmer who was also using the program, and he was trying to synchronize with the Black Frost instead, but it was too powerful and it didn't work, and it put him in a coma in the real world and kind of fractured his consciousness into this guy in the demon world.
So dot hack sign.
Sure. Is that a game or a...
It's an anime
it's
connected to a game series. The dot hack project was crazy.
Okay, because I know that there's a lot going on with dot hack, and I'm not even remotely qualified.
Basically, the anime you need to know is main character has amnesia, their body's in a coma in the real world, so they kind of can't get back to their real body.
Oh, and then the rest is Sword Art Online, but presumably better?
It's funny you mention that, because SAO and dot hack were originally written and released in the same year.
Wait, really?
Yeah. I mean, going back to SAO's web novel origins, because the light novel came out, the official light novel came out later.
Yeah, Sword Art Online I know is much later. Well, the stuff that people know about Sword Art Online is much later, because dot hack is a thing since like the PS2.
Yeah.
From what I remember. So, yeah. Anyway, welcome to Hell.
So typical fare for SMT Atlas games.
Yeah, pretty much. If you notice in the bottom left corner, there is a pickup that I forget is there, and I go and backtrack for it later. That was like the last one I was missing. They do that a lot where they have the collectible in plain sight, but I missed it that time. Also, I don't know if you can technically kill those guys there. Oh god, I think that's technically supposed to be based off of an Islamic thing. God, I'm gonna butcher this terribly, so I apologize. I think it's based off of the thing that the Islamic people go to. Oh yes, here I edited it in. Thank you, past me. I think it's based off of the thing that people go to visit during the pilgrimage that you're supposed to do at least once when you are Islamic, and I forget the names for all of them, and I should know them by this point, but I don't. I apologize. I
actually forgot that stone thing was a demon.
Yeah, well, the only thing that's not really a demon in Shin Megami Tensei is they never made Jesus. Yeah, that's a dragon.
That's Koryu. Wow, I didn't think they'd go there, but they did.
Yeah, I think you can kill him. It's just really hard to do so because he's only on screen for like a fraction of a second at any given point.
Why is there a mural of a fertility doll on that thing?
I don't know.
Yeah, it has boobs.
Yes, John, it has boobs.
It's SMT.
Welcome to SMT. You'll be here for a while. But anyway, the only thing the only thing that I can think of that they've kind of not touched in terms of Shin Megami Tensei is Jesus. Like, they've gone out of their way to try to not touch Jesus as much as possible.
Yeah,
well, God still has the exclusivity rights.
The only thing that they've done is sort of have a messiah without mentioning it by name, they have a Messiah figure.
That's not strictly a Jesus thing, though.
It's
well,
not
they're
strictly,
clearly
yeah,
going
it's
for
kinda,
Jesus if you look at the art, because he's on a crucifix. So.
They're sort of combined. It's sort of a generic combination of the Judeo-Christian concepts of the Messiah figure.
Yeah. So like the
Can't
idea.
afford Jesus, but we can give you good Jesus.
The interesting thing about the Messiah figure in SMT though is that while God himself is generally portrayed as a massive dickhole,
so like most religions.
Yeah.
No, but you see, I can't tell, given the context of this series, if Lewis means he's just a jerk or he's actually a massive dickhole.
No, God in SMT is a floating yellow head in the sky, pretty much. Like he's a floating bald dude with no body.
So he's evil Zordon, which is funny because
Yeah,
Zordon was recycled from Satan in Sentai.
So yeah, it goes. Well, Satan. There's also Shin Megami Tensei also has both Satan and Lucifer, who are two different figures. So yeah. But the Shin Megami Tensei God.
Well, what I was trying to say is that even though God is generally portrayed as a lawful evil douchebag, the Messiah figure is always positive in SMT.
Yeah, that's because the main hero of Persona 3 is basically a Messiah figure in and of himself.
Yeah, his ultimate judgment persona is Messiah.
Yeah. So God in Shin Megami Tensei frustrates me, because the whole point of this series is that there is no right answer to sorts of things. Like, you can even make the argument that the neutral path, which is generally seen as the most positive outcome in these games, isn't the best ending. Because in the neutral path, you almost always are just punting the problem back to a future generation for them to solve. Because you never get rid of the only endings where you get rid of the demons or the angels are the Law and Chaos endings, where, okay, one side wins, and it's probably super shitty for everybody, but hey, at least the fighting's over, right? You know, you're living your life either as a mindless servant of God, or in fear that demons will rip your body apart into pieces every waking second of your life.
Or everything ends and you turn away from your fight with Lucifer to go and confront God.
Yeah. So the whole point is that there's no right choice, and it's all about, you know, what your personal beliefs are. So it bothers me that in so many of the games, God is portrayed as this ultimate evil that isn't really, and that's just ultimately just the worst figure out of all of them. Like, the worst one about this is the original Shin Megami Tensei 2 on Super Famicom. Where even in the Law ending, where you side with the angels, you still fight God at the end, because he's just that much of a douchebag. Actually,
wasn't he like artificial in 2?
There was an artificial God, because the archangels were so delusional that they made a fake God out of their belief that the old God would come and save them.
Oh.
Pretty much, if I remember correctly. But then you do fight the real God after, as the final boss of the game. Apocalypse also just randomly makes you fight God at the end as well, even though there's a perfectly satisfying encounter right before then that could have functioned as the final boss. And also, God's dungeon in Shin Megami Tensei 4 is literally the worst dungeon I've ever played for Apocalypse. That dungeon's literally the worst dungeon I've ever played in any RPG in my life, and I hate it. And
you need to play Persona.
Worse than Crystal Towers in 3.
You need to play Persona 4 Golden, Ted, and experience the majesty of Marie's dungeon.
Oh yeah, but it's a 20-hour-long dungeon that's nothing but teleport tile warping, like Sabrina's Gym in Pokemon, but way worse. And you can't recruit demons at all in it, and it's awful. And there's no towns, and there's no break, and it goes on for forever, and I hate it.
Okay, how about this? Every time you walk through a door, you have to fight a super hard enemy.
Well, you have to fight. Okay, so you know Metatron, you know, one of the hardest enemies in Shin Megami Tensei, and often a super boss in the game you encounter him in. He's a random encounter.
What?
In God's Dungeon in Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse.
Wow, okay.
You can fight hordes of him. There are horde battles where you fight nothing but 20 Metatrons. It's That dungeon, it's awful. It's
okay.
and I mean, okay, I knew I was gonna rant about Apocalypse because Shin Megami Tensei 4 is such a good game, and Apocalypse just decides, okay, that story doesn't get to have a satisfying ending anymore. You just get to continue the ending, and we're going to make it, instead about the end of the world, we're going to make it literally My Little Pony stories about peace and love and friendship. And it's, oh god, I'm sorry, I'm ranting at this point.
So what you're saying is you're going to do it for the channel someday.
Yeah, so we still got 15 minutes.
Do you want a 100-part playthrough? Because that's how you get a 100-part playthrough. It's like a 120
You did schedule a 60-part trauma center.
Yeah, but then I deleted it because that was a bad idea. Yeah, there's even, like, one of the funny things is that there's even fan theories that trauma centers in the Shin Megami Tensei universe, because they do certain things where that connect the series, like the overworld sprite with the little dot with the triangle underneath it from all the Shin Megami Tensei games is in the overworld map in Trauma Center, which is a neat callback as well.
And there's also, like, other potential connections to like Catherine, for example.
Yeah.
Catherine definitely takes place in the SMT Persona universe.
One of the bosses is Vincent's shadow.
Yeah. Not to mention that the C Catherine and the K Catherine choice system is definitely a reflection of the Law Chaos system from many of the other Shin Megami Tensei games. So it's if it's not officially in continuity, it's close enough that most people just would consider it.
It even has a neutral ending where you basically just don't get together with either of them and save getting a girlfriend for later. Oh, and you go to space, yeah. Which makes it the best ending ever.
And then we see James Sunderland riding around with the UFO ending in
although
2.
Although in Catherine, no matter whether you choose the Law ending or the Chaos ending, you basically get the best ending, because you get, like, your happy marriage with all your friends in the K ending, and in the C ending, well, you basically rule hell alongside Catherine.
Well, there are good and bad versions of both endings, right?
Oh yeah,
endings,
but
actually.
Yeah, if you're, like, too wishy-washy about it, neither of them will get back to you.
Yeah, like if I remember correctly, there's like a really good version of, there's a good and bad version of the neutral ending, and then there's 3 levels of good for the other 2 endings, where there's like the one where they don't get back with you at all, and then the one where they get back with you but you're not as happy about it.
Yeah, the other thing is your meter determines what questions you get at the end of the game, and it's the questions you answer at the end of the game that determine exactly what ending you get.
Yeah, basically. That's the alignment system in Shin Megami Tensei is also kind of a point for contention, because in some games it's not designed particularly great. For example, Shin Megami Tensei 4, again, I love that game, and I might have brought this up in a different commentary, but it's possible to be too neutral to get the neutral ending.
Yeah.
What? So, okay, so the game runs on a system where your alignment is determined mathematically. If you answer a question with a chaos, you start at 0. And if you answer a question with a chaos answer, the game deducts numbers from your score. And if you answer questions with a law answer, you add points to your score. And this isn't just like philosophical stuff. It's as simple. It even applies to stuff like, oh, you're gonna shake someone's hand when you talk to them and things like that. You know. So if you end the game with exactly 0, all right. Like, let's say you're as neutral as possible and you get to the final choice with exactly 0. The final choice in the game either adds 10 or subtracts 10 to your alignment total, and the threshold to get to the neutral ending is -8 to +8, meaning if you're perfectly neutral, there's no possible way to get the neutral ending, which is dumb.
Oh man, it's giant flowing animation Black Frost.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did that puppetry trick here.
Oh yeah, they're definitely doing it here.
Yeah.
With the arms.
With the arms.
Yeah. Because the whole thing is like he moves the arms around and shoots attacks from it. So it's probably easier coding wise to just do that. Because people are like I'm sure that they're animating this in layers anyway.
Yeah.
So
too many parts of one thing makes it much harder to animate because it has to keep track of a bunch of different things at once.
yeah.
Oh man.
Especially considering if the character has multiple things to strike.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, in this case, I think it's only the head. I don't think hitting the arms does anything, really. I'm pretty sure
we brought up Mega Man earlier, but this kind of thing will happen a lot in X bosses.
Okay, you see, I'm trying to think of. I'm not familiar with any of the X games except the first one, and I'm sure that this is something that happens.
A lot of the PlayStation games will have multiple layers to their sprites. It's still hittable for everything, but they'll have different parts of their sprites moving in order to have them do different attacks at a dime, rather than having to figure out exactly what part needs to be moving at a certain time for an attack.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you want more than one thing on a boss to move at once, then this is definitely the way to do it, so that you don't have to make different animations for, the one arm going up and the other arm going down. You can just have a separate animation for each and play both of them at the same time. So yeah, this boss is pretty nuts, basic, as you can see. It's not that bad. I believe if you change the difficulty, all it does is alter damage values. I think the only other thing it might do is alter the amount of attacks that, like fireballs and whatnot, that pop out of the enemy. But I haven't messed up with it. Wow. Well, I've messed up plenty because I'm bad at video games, but I haven't
Exploded twice.
Yeah, I haven't tried the other difficulties. I've only ever played the normal mode, so I'm not sure what happens if you play on it in like easy, how they make it easier or harder. So I'm just guessing at this point.
What the hell?
Yeah, so the guy from earlier, we have to kill Black Frost in order to
Return to the real world.
To return him to the real world, and he's thinking that shouldn't kill him, pretty much. It's like he's just asking you to kill him, which is, like sad and depressing. So even a spin-off like this can't have a happy ending, pretty much, because that's not how this series rolls. Well, Persona's better about that because 3 has, like, you die at the end of 3, right?
With the way the sprite's going on with the boss, I'm expecting the Earthbound theme to come in any second now.
Well, the music has shades of it.
Yeah,
a little bit, but
to answer your question, yeah, you die at the end of 3, but you achieve a victory for the world in doing so. And then 4 and 5 just have straight up good endings. So.
Yeah. And I mean, not that there isn't an like I was talking about this earlier. There usually is in most of the mainline games. The neutral ending usually ends somewhat positively and is supposed to be hopeful, in that like, oh, we can turn our world around or whatever, and the power of humanity can make things right or whatever. It's just that because there's always another game, you realize that humanity is kind of crappy. And we're not good at fixing things, pretty much.
Well,
yeah.
Persona's kind of the same way in that there's always another manifestation of the collective human unconsciousness's desire for bad things that's going to become a god and terrorize the world. And it seems to happen every 3 years. So, wow.
Is it always 3 years between games?
No, I was exaggerating. It's like, 3 is in 2009. And
weren't they all in the years that they all came out?
2011 and then 2016.
Okay.
No, 3 years after they came out, actually, was what they were going for with 3 and 4, and what they probably meant with 5, but the game was delayed until it was after 2016, so.
Yeah, the game got delayed for like 3 years.
Yeah, oh yeah, if you wanna get some people upset, post that image of the chairs that says Persona 5 coming out in 2014. Yeah. So yeah, you show that to the right people, and they'll get kind of mad at you.
Why?
So you actually have to shoot Black Frost with your in game in order to kill him in the cutscene, which I always like when they make you do that in games. I don't know.
Man, that reminds me of the evil ending in Infamous 2, where you have to kill Zeke yourself to finish him off. I mean, he's just this fat guy with a gun, maybe. He's not going to be able to kill you, but you have to take him out.
Is he an NPC that you're supposed to like?
He's your best friend for both games.
Oh, and in the evil ending, you have to kill him?
Yeah, because your choice to side with the conduits at the expense of regular humans kind of puts you at odds with your regular human best friend.
Just a bit.
All right, I mean, yeah. Still, I think it's effective when they make you do something that you wouldn't normally do in a video game, actually using the mechanics as opposed to having to watch it in a cutscene. So anyway, our mysterious computer friend says that stuff has happened.
Play this other game, please.
And yeah, looks like he didn't live. All right.
Yeah,
well,
he died anyway.
He died anyway. So okay. All right. Cool. And anyway, the game will just leave it open there until you decide to shut it down immediately. But yeah, that's SMT. Shin Megami Tensei Synchronicity Prologue. Strange staff. Oh wow, I forgot to put the staff in the title of these videos. Oops. My bad. But anyway, yeah, if
Team
you're
Ladybug. Okay.
I would actually, if you're not interested in Shin Megami Tensei RPG gameplay, but still want to
Ladybug
experience the
and Pepposoft. Krobon, Ladybug, and Pepposoft.
Where's Yuki-chan's papa?
What?
But anyway, if you're interested in the universe but don't care for RPGs, honestly, play this. It's a short game, but if you like Metroidvanias, it controls well. It's a lot of fun. It's like a 3-hour game the first time you play it, and it's just a good time, and you kind of get a taste of the universe and see if you want to dive into something a little bit more traditional with other stuff as well. I mean, you could also just go play Persona 5 as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're really interested in the overall setup for the Atlas stuff, Persona 5 is probably your best starting point right now. It'll give you the base level experience of the setup, how things on a base level work, and give you a really good game to boot.
Yeah, I honestly don't recommend going back any earlier than PS2 if you want to start with this series, because some of these games are really antiquated and archaic, and
especially Persona 1 and 2.
Yeah, well, not even just that. Like the SNES games in particular are frustrating.
Yeah, but I found people are more willing to put up with that kind of stuff if it's a 2D system, because they kind of unconsciously know.
Yeah,
that
kind of antiquated.
Yeah, that makes a good amount, because the original Shin Megami Tensei is like, there is an official translation, just only on mobile for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah. So there is an official way to play SMT1, not 2 though.
I would argue that the PlayStation 2 games are fairly antiquated as well in certain aspects.
Yeah, but less so. I found like they started streamlining there, and as they moved through the 3DS and the modern systems, because there's a lot of games on 3DS as well, a lot of remakes, a lot of old games. But as they moved through, they kind of slowly added more and more stuff. Like, for example, there wasn't an option to they didn't add an option to manually choose what skills your demons inherit during fusion until I believe it was Devil Survivor Overclocked, and that was in 2011. The series had been around for 20 years before they gave you the ability to just straight up choose which abilities your demons guide upon fusing.
Yeah, and then they added that to Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5 as well.
Which is just an improvement, because what you have to do in the other games is enter the fusion selection, see what spells they get. Do they have what you want?
Back out if you don't like
go
it,
back.
and then keep on over and over and over again until you get what you want, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. I did so much of that in Persona 3.
It's one of those things where it's annoying and there's no reason for it to really be there. It just took a long... And it's not game breaking. It's just one of those things that took a long time for them to just make it convenient. You know? And I think that's part of why it maybe took till the Persona games for the series to really take off, is because that's when they started adding the stuff that made it convenient. I think that's also a thing with Fire Emblem as well, where Fire Emblem got popular with Awakening because it had the stuff that made the old games good. It just made the antiquated stuff more convenient.
Yeah, of course, Nintendo attributed its success to its waifu factor, but
yeah. Well, I mean, it helps. It helps when you've got a lot of girls with big anime boobs too. I suppose, but I mean, granted, you could also say the same thing about Persona, where people attributed Persona's success to its wife.
to its visual novel element. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's probably the only Shin Megami Tensei game we'll be doing that isn't named Persona 5. So, yeah. Go play it. It's good. It's free too. So, that's another thing. Yeah. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Whatever. Bye.